Hi, my name is Subodh, and I'm going to present our paper titled Extrinsic Calibration of a 3D LIDAR and a Camera. Here is a brief overview of the presentation. First, I'm going to introduce our work and talk about our contributions. Moving on, I will describe the notations used in the paper and explain what they mean physically. Next, I'm going to briefly touch upon the feature detection process across both the sensing modalities. After describing the feature detection process, I will talk about the geometrical constraints that can be established using these features and how cost functions can be formed utilizing these constraints. We will then discuss the optimization technique used to minimize the cost function for estimating the extrinsic calibration parameters. Next, I will describe the system of sensors we have used to test our algorithm and present the experiments we conducted followed by the results we obtained. And ultimately, I'll close this talk with some conclusions and ideas about future work. This work presents a target-based extrinsic parameter estimation algorithm for a 3D LiDAR and camera pair using a planar markerless target of known dimensions. The data for calibration is collected by placing the planar target at multiple different poses in the common field of view of a camera and a LiDAR, and common features like planes and lines are detected across the sensing modalities. A minimization problem is formed by exploiting geometrical constraints which are satisfied by these detected features, and finally, the minimization problem is solved by using the method of nonlinear least squares. As far as the contributions of this work are concerned, firstly, we use a method which does not require any sort of visual fiducial marker on the target surface. Second, we use a geometrical constraint which we call the edge point to back projected plane constraint, which has never been used before for calibrating 3D LiDAR camera pairs. Third, we use an independent metric called the average line reprojection error to verify our algorithm. We call this metric independent because we do not minimize it in the optimization process. Lastly, we extensively evaluate our algorithm on 4 different LiDAR camera pairs. Thus, we prove its usability across different types of sensors. In this slide, I present the notations used in the paper and their physical significance. Figure 1 provides a pictorial representation. We detect 2 types of points in LiDAR. They are the points lying on the target surface, denoted as LPIM, which are shown in blue, and the points on the target's edges, denoted as LQIJN, which are shown in red. In camera, the only features we detect are the edges of the planar target, denoted as LCIJ. These edges are parameterized as straight lines, and they can be used to determine the parameters pi ci that describe the planar target surface. The detected edge LCIJ is also used to determine the parameters pi cij that describe the back projected plane. The back projected plane is a plane formed by camera center and the line LCIJ. One can read more about the back projected plane in the source cited below. Moving on to the feature detection process. For LiDARs, the first step is to remove points which have very low probability of lying in the common field of view of the camera LiDAR pair. Then, on the remaining point cloud, we use ransack-based plane and line segmentation algorithms to segment out points lying on the target surface and the points lying in the target's edges. As far as the camera images are concerned, we just need to detect the line segments which define the edges of the target. The detected line segments are further used to determine the respective back projected planes and also the plane parameters of the calibration target surface. In figure 3, we see the results of feature detection on real data. On the left, in figure 3a, we see the planar target with its edges colored with detected lines. The OpenCV line segment detector is used for detecting the line segments which define the edges of the planar target. On the right, in figure 3b, we see the plane and line points detected in the LiDAR point cloud. We use the point cloud library for working with the LiDAR data. Having discussed the features we can detect across the sensing modalities, we will now discuss the constraints that link these measured features using the unknown extrinsic parameters CRL and CTL. The two constraints pertinent to our work are the surface point to plane constraint shown in figure 4 and the edge point to back projected plane constraint shown in figure 5. As shown in figure 4, the planar points detected in LIDAR and the corresponding plane pi ci in camera form the surface point to plane constraint. A constraint in the language of optimization can also be called a residual. When the residual for all the points and plane pairs are squared and added over all the observations, we obtain the cost function P1. In a very similar manner, the edge points detected in LIDAR and the corresponding back projected plane pi Cij in camera form the edge point to back projected plane constraint, which are used to form the cost function P2. Now, we have two cost functions, P1 and P2. We can either use them separately or together or one after the other to obtain an estimate of the unknown extrinsic calibration parameters. In order to determine the correct way of using these cost functions, we ran some experiments and realized that the minimization of cost function P1 is robust to initialization and it converges to the correct rotation, but to the incorrect translation. Secondly, the minimization of P2 is not robust to initialization, especially for the rotation variable. But if it is initialized close to the true value, then it converges to the correct solution, both for rotation and translation. Therefore, in order to bring the advantages of both the cost functions together, we minimize P1 first and use the solutions obtained to initialize and minimize P2. Before talking about the experiments we conducted, I'm going to briefly touch upon the sensors we have used to test our algorithm. We have two different LIDARs, namely a Ouster 64-channel LIDAR and a Velodyne 32-channel LIDAR. And we have two different cameras which come as a stereo pair, such that we know their factory stereo calibration. The known factory stereo calibration is used as ground truth in one of our verification experiments. Among the two LIDARs we have found that the Ouster LIDAR is noisy. We say so because if we use the same ransack parameters for both the LIDARs for segmenting planes or lines, then the points returned in the case of Ouster LIDAR is significantly lesser, despite it being a 64-channel LIDAR. We will discuss the effect of this noise on the calibration result and show how it is beneficial to use the edge point to back projected plane constraint like we have done in the proposed method. We use our algorithm to calibrate all the possible LIDAR camera pairs. In order to test the performance of our algorithm and benchmark it, we compare it against an easy to implement method, which we call PPC-Cal from now on. PPC-Cal is also a target-based calibration approach, which uses a checkerboard as a calibration target, and fundamentally uses only the cost function P1 for estimating the unknown extrinsic calibration parameters. Since it is difficult to benchmark our algorithm in the absence of ground truth, we use indirect methods to check the veracity of the estimates we obtain. First, we use the estimated extrinsic calibration parameters to project LIDAR points onto the camera image and do a qualitative visual examination. Second, we use the estimated extrinsic calibration parameters to point only the LIDAR edge points onto the corresponding edges on the camera image and calculate the average line reprojection errors. Lastly, we compare the obtained extrinsic calibration with the known factory stereo calibration. In figure 7, we show the projection of Ouster LIDAR points on both the left and right cameras of the stereo system using the extrinsic parameters estimated using PPC-Cal and the proposed method. We can clearly see that in figures 7a and 7c, which utilize the parameters estimated using PPC-Cal, the projected LIDAR points overshoot the calibration target. But no such overshoot is visible in figures 7b and 7d. Similar results are presented in figure 8, which presents the results of the Velodyne LIDAR. We can qualitatively say that the proposed method performs better. In the next experiments, we quantify this overshoot or misalignment in projection using the average line reprojection error. Figure 9 shows the projection of edge points detected in Ouster LIDAR on the corresponding edges detected in the images. Clearly, PPC-Cal gives higher line reprojection error shown in red in figures 9A and 9C. Similar results can be shown in figure 10, where we see the Velodyne LIDAR, where we use the Velodyne LIDAR instead of the Ouster LIDAR. We summarize all the results related to the average line reprojection error in table 1. We can see that in the table, the PPC-Cal shows deterioration in performance when used on an Ouster LIDAR camera setup, but the proposed method gives consistent result with all the sensor pairs. This proves that PPC-Cal gives poorer results when a noisy sensor like Ouster LIDAR is used, but the proposed method performs the same and proves to be robust to noise. Table 2 and 3 present the errors with respect to the known stereo calibration for both Ouster and Velodyne LIDARs and the stereo pair. The generic observation from these tables is that the proposed method performs better along all the degrees of freedom except one rotational direction, which is shown in red. But along all other degrees of freedom, the proposed method performs significantly better. From the experiments we conducted, we can draw the following conclusions. First, the proposed method outperforms PPC-Cal in all the verification tests. Second, PPC-Cal shows deterioration in performance when a noisy sensor like Ouster is used, but it is not so with the proposed method. This suggests that using additional constraints like the edge point to back projected plane constraint makes the calibration algorithm robust to noise in the sensing modalities. In future, we want to leverage our current work to do joint calibration of multiple cameras and LIDARs using a graph-based approach. We also want to extend our work to include IMUs. We want to explore learning-based methods to solve the problem of data association across modalities. And lastly, we want to move to targetless calibration, which uses motion and environmental cues to do online calibration of robotic sensors. Thank you.